Bonjour everyone and welcome back to the Waves of Your Soul. I am your humble French tarot reader Marine, and today we're gonna be doing a good old-fashioned haul. I'm gonna be sharing with you all the new tarot and oracle decks that have joined my collection in the months of, I would say, mid-June, July, August, whenever it was I did my last haul. Super excited to be doing this video today with you guys because I really missed you. I barely saw the months of August go by because I was super sick for most of it. It was hell, to be honest. And so whilst I was rotting in bed, a lot of decks that I had ordered the few months prior arrived. There are some mass market goodies, some indie goodies, some I bought myself, some I was sent for reviews or as gifts. So we're gonna be looking at it all. It's gonna be epic, it's gonna be fun. This is truly a video for all of my fellow deck goblins out there. Before I get into it, just a couple of things. First off, I want to apologize if my voice is sounding a little bit more froggy than usual. Like I said, the month of August, I was super sick. You can still hear it in my voice that I am slowly getting back on my feet, so apologies if I sound even more like a French frog than usual. The other thing is, all the names of the decks are gonna be in the description box below. I always get questions about that, and yet I always spend like at least an hour putting my description box together. So please, if you are ever wondering what the decks I'm sharing at, what are the names, whatever, there's timestamps and there's also a full description box with information that should make everything easy for you. Just make sure to click down there. That should answer your questions about everything I'm sharing with you today. In the description box, you'll also find other videos of mine you may want to check out. I've made a whole deck haul playlist. If you would like to binge those kind of videos like I do, then I thought I would put that together for you guys. And just finishing on the little life announcements, I'm gonna be going away in the month of September, which is weird timing because I hadn't planned on being so sick in August, obviously. So I don't have much time between me kind of getting back on my feet and me going away for a couple of weeks. But I will be going to South Africa with my family. Long belated birthday present from my dad. He had his 70th birthday 2 years ago. We were supposed to go then, but I wasn't well enough to navigate the waters of chronic illness, chronic pain, and so 2 years ago I wasn't well enough to travel to do what we wanted to, and so finally this year we're gonna do this. Really excited about that. It's gonna be fun. If you want to follow what I'm up to, I will be sharing all of that on my Instagram stories. I'm not sure how much service I'll have, but whenever I have Wi-Fi, I'll make sure to share some of that. So obviously my schedule for September is gonna be not as packed as I wanted because as I was really sick for all of August, I didn't manage to pre-film as I had planned some content for September. So right now I'm riding the waters. I'm doing what I can when I can. Schedule is gonna be super fluid until like mid-September when I'm really back and I can go back to a more structured kind of life because the recent weeks have been very chaotic. I'm taking things one day at a time. I know I don't owe you guys an explanation or an apology. I know you're very happy for me to show up when I do, and for that I'm so grateful. I really have a fantastic community with you guys, and I'm super grateful for your patience, for your support. Like I know you guys know that I navigate chronic illness, that my life is just very dependent on that, and that sometimes I'm gonna be posting 5 videos in 2 weeks and sometimes I'm gonna be quiet for 2 weeks. But I just wanted to like do a little bit of a life catch up around the fact that I'll be away for the first 2 weeks in September, that might affect my content, but I'll be sharing some fun stuff on my story if you want to see a little bit of South Africa, which I'm really excited to go. It couldn't come at a better time. It's just gonna be so nice to not be dead anymore and just be somewhere beautiful with gorgeous nature. I can't wait. Anyway, enough about me and my little life catch up. Let's look at my new decks. Let's go. Okay, let's start with decks that were sent to me either for reviews or as gift, and then we'll move on to all the decks I purchased for myself. I always like to make that very clear for you guys. Most of the decks I show on my channel anyway, I would say like 99% of decks are decks I purchased for myself, but sometimes I get send decks for reviews or as gifts, so I like to like make sure that I tell you for like honesty and transparency reasons. The first couple of decks that were sent to me for review, and I've actually made a whole dedicated video about them, is the Witch's Runes Divination deck as well as the Rider Marseille Tarot. So these two are by Artisan Tarot. I've made a specific dedicated in-depth review about both of these, so I'll make sure to leave that in the card. I'm not gonna spend too long here showing them to you or explaining how they work, etc., because like I said, I've really made a in-depth review about them. I've been working with those for the last few weeks, new to my collection, at least since I've done my last haul, so I wanted to still mention them, as this is a video kind of rounding up all the new decks that arrived in my collection since the last haul I did back in June, I believe. So this one, the Rider Marseille, again by Artisan Tarot, is a beautiful hybrid between the RWS and the Tarot de Marseille. We have this beautiful wood cutting effect with all the colors bleeding, this gorgeous artwork. This is a perfect kind of like, I would say, kiddie's pool, right? For people who love the RWS and want to get into Tarot de Marseille, but who are a little bit apprehensive about learning how to read with Marseille because of the pip nature of it, then this gives you that Marseille look, and it will also use a lot of like the symbolism from Marseille, like the wands look Marseille-like, the swords look Marseille-like, especially the swords are, I think, my favorite suit in this. It's so gorgeous. Like as you can see here, right, and the wands look very like traditional Marseille. I need to find some swords because that's definitely my favorite suit in this deck. It's gorgeous. Look at that. Beautiful. So you'll have elements from the Tarot de Marseille, but the core key, I would say, source of it is RWS. For those of you who want to get into Marseille but don't really feel super comfortable yet reading with a full pip deck, I think this is a good in-between. Like I said, this is a good kiddie's pool before jumping into the deep end of the pool. It's like a good first step, right? So I've really enjoyed using this. I think it's beautiful. It's already become quite a workhorse for me recently. I can see myself picking this up for really anything. It's got that beautiful, for me it's like the best of both worlds. I personally prefer reading with an RWS, even though I've come to appreciate Marseille. It's still RWS my comfort zone, very much so, yet I think Tarot de Marseille is stunning. I feel like this type of artwork is just so beautiful, and I love the faces usually in the Tarot de Marseille. There's something about them that I think is so fun and also beautiful. So this is for me the best of both worlds. I've really enjoyed working with it, and again, I've made a full review about this. I'll leave it in the cards. Look at me already fucking up my decoration. I am a mess. I'm a mess. I'm always a mess. My chaotic deck goblinness is pumped up to the next level because I've been in bed for so long. I don't even know how to be human anymore. After being like stuck in bed for so long. The Witch's Rune Divination deck that was sent to me for review by Artisan Tarot. If they're watching this, I want to tell them a huge thanks. Again, I made a whole review about this, so I'll make sure to leave it in the card. This was for me a super fun new divination system to learn because I've never worked with Witch's Runes before. I love learning new fortune telling divination system. I think it's always eye-opening. It can always bring something new to your reading. And Witch's Rune have been really fun to learn. So actually in this set you get two sets of Witch's Rune. There's 32 cards which are two sets of the same runes. Right now they're all mixed together because I've just filmed my review, so I need to like separate them. But what I have been doing is that I was taking one set of rune with me for practice, mixing them together, and one I had kept in order for either using on my altar or for study. So I love that we get two sets in this. The guidebook in this one is fantastic. And again, you can watch my review, I go full depth about it. This really holds your hand. For someone who had never worked with the Witch's Rune before, it did such a great job at making me more familiar with them. And the great thing about this is that there's even a free 2-hour course, which I forgot to mention in my review because it was the first video I had filmed since I was sick, and so I still was like very much brain fog. But there is a fantastic 2-hour free course on Artisan Tarot. So even if you don't don't have the deck and you're curious about hearing from the creator of this deck, John Saint-Germain, I highly recommend checking out the course on Artisan Tarot. It will really help you decide if you want the deck or not. It's free, like you just have to sign up for it. And I love that 2-hour course. It was fascinating and really great to hear from this particular creator who just brought a lot of his personal practice, a lot of his personal like beliefs and wisdom. And I was surprised with how easy these runes were to get used to. Like, I thought I would need a bit more time to get familiar with them, but they're really easy to approach. This next deck here was sent to me as a gift, and everything else after I have purchased for myself. This one, I need to say a huge thank you to Hyena from Soul Shadow Tarot, the creator of this beautiful deck, Tarot, and I need to thank Nicolas from the Salon des Arcanes, who is the one who was distributing this deck. They very kindly sent this to me as a gift. Just want to say a huge thank you because I am just so blown away by how beautiful this is, how clever this is. This is called the Alter Tarot. It was created by Hyena from Soul Shadow Tarot, who is a fantastic tarot reader, tarot teacher, content creator, deck creator, you name it, Hyena has done it. She has 2 channels in French. She has her reading channel, which is Soul Shadow Tarot, and she has a secondary channel where she shares like her deck collection and tags and stuff like that, which is called Soul Shadow Museum. So I'll make sure to leave both of these down below. She is my favorite French content creator out there, so I'm sure you've heard me talk about her channel quite a lot already. This was distributed by the Salon des Arcanes, a French-based shop who distributes indie and mass market tarot decks, all of August. So if I've posted this still in August, you might still be able to get this deck, the Alter Tarot. I'm not sure if there will still be decks available after August, because I think they've been selling them all throughout summer. I know like most people have been able to get their hands on this deck if they wanted it. I'm just sharing it here because it was a gift, but I don't know if by the time I post this video there will still be some on Nicolas' shop or not. The concept of this is that this is a blend between traditional cartomancy and tarot. So Hyena actually did something really cool here, a really interesting concept, because she blended traditional cartomancy meanings, so from playing cards, and blended that with tarot. And so this is why you will have keywords here at the top, which might differ to what traditionally we associate with tarot meanings, right? Because this is more of a blend, it's a hybrid, just like the Rider Marseille was a hybrid between Marseille and the RWS. This is a hybrid between the tarot and the traditional card playing cartomancy meanings. So it's really interesting. I think it's a beautiful hybrid, a beautiful mixed language. This was created from postcards, I believe, and then like the use of AI on top. And so this is again one I've been really enjoying using ever since I've been feeling a little bit better away by how beautiful the blend of traditional cartomancy and meaning of tarot is. And again, this was available for purchase for the whole summer on Salon des Arcanes. I love the fact that Hyena included 2 Justice cards and 2 Strength cards, so we could like mix and match depending on how we kind of identify with those 2 cards. This is one I can totally see myself using in future picker card readings. I'm very tempted to take it to South Africa with me, but part of me doesn't want it to get damaged. I might in the end take a mass market deck just because if this one got damaged I would be gutted. But there is something about all the animals here that I think would really fit my trip to South Africa that's coming up. So I'm not sure. This is one of my favorite cards. I think it's adorable. It reminds me of like books I was reading when I was little, and I forgot to say that the vibe of it from me using it like the last couple of weeks, it is truly making me feel like I am taking a walk in a magical fairy tale world, and you feel like you're in this magical forest. And so I was talking to Hyena, I was like, wow, this feels very like fairy tales vibe as well, like you're walking in a beautiful magical forest. And then she was telling me that she actually reread a lot of the fairy tales from Charles Perrault, the French fairy tale storyteller, the most famous one, I would say. So it makes sense why I was getting so much like fairy tale vibes and fairy tale forest, because it definitely inspired her creation. As you know, I'm a huge fan of fairy tales myself, so when I do fairy tales inspired readings and stuff, which I still really want to do, hopefully by the end of the year I'll try and do a few pick a card reading inspired by fairy tales. I will definitely be using this one as well, because I think it'll work beautifully for that. And look at this, so gorgeous, so many gorgeous animals in this one. I think my favorite card is the chameleon one that was right at the beginning, because yeah, this page of coins is everything, and we have chameleons in my garden. They make me super happy. So when I saw that this was a page of coins, I thought that was brilliant. So, and if you are French speaking, I can't recommend her courses enough. I think she's a fantastic teacher and a great creator as well, as we can see with her newest deck. And if you've missed this one and you couldn't get your hands on it, you should still follow her channel and her Instagram, because she's always cooking up new decks. She's always got new projects in the work, always unique, different, and really interesting. Okay, all the decks from now on are decks that I purchased myself. Category is a mini mass market order I had done back in June, I think. Remember last haul I did, I told you I had discovered that Rare Waves was a website that delivered to Reunion, and after Book Depository closed, it was super hard for me to get mass market English decks. Until I discovered that Rare Waves delivered to me and that they held a lot of English mass market tarot and oracle decks. So back in, I don't know whenever it was, June or whatever, I did a second little order for mass market decks I wanted, and they arrived recently, so I wanted to share them with you. The first deck from this little mass market order I did is the Citadel Oracle by Fez Inkwright. This is by the publisher Sterling Ethos. Oh my god, you guys, finally lusting after it for months, years. I don't even know when this came out. I don't know what is time anyway, but a social construct, right? Don't even ask me what time of the year it is, what year it is. I don't know anymore. It opens like this. I don't know if you saw, opens like this. You have the cards, which are this really fun shape here. So yeah, really cool production. But what really interested me most of all in this deck, to be honest, is the concept, because as the name suggests, a fantasy oracle deck, I'm already like, yes, sign me up. I'm a huge fantasy nerd, so as soon as something says it's fantasy inspired, I'm in. I was really keen to get my hands on, and it did not disappoint. I've been loving using it recently. It will definitely appear in future favorite, because this is rooted in fantasy archetype, and imagining that you are stepping into a citadel, a city. In this city there are different parts with different kind of people living in there. We have the runaway or the patron, and so this is really rooting in role-playing, and each character really embodying an archetype from role-playing games such as Dungeons and Dragons, or such as like RPG video games and things like that. And so the way that this is built is that it's both an oracle deck and a deck that could help you create a character or create a campaign or anything like that if you are into role-playing games. I've never played Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that, but I am a big consumer of it. Like I love watching people who play. Like I watched Dimension 20, I finally got into watching Critical Role while I was sick. So this was really perfect timing for me, and these are definitely tropes or archetypes that I was already super familiar with from reading fantasy books and playing fantasy video games ever since I was a child. Love the idea of stepping into a fantasy world but still using archetypes that can bring us back to actual practical advice for our day-to-day life. And I was really surprised by how true this deck reads. It will not cuddle you, let me tell you that. This is not a deck that I would say is love and light and all of that. It can be quite direct in the way that it will present messages, but it's very clever. I'm not the biggest fan of the artwork. I mean, I think it's beautiful, but if you know me, I love colors, but I just love the concept so much. The fact that there's a couple of keywords on the cards as well, so that you don't necessarily have to rely on the guidebook if you want to. Although this one I've only used for me recently, so I was very much relying on the guidebook. So the guidebook did a really great job at giving you both upward and reverse meanings for each of the card, and it kind of tells you where the inspiration comes from for each of the archetype, how that applies to you in your day-to-day life. life, and how you would read that if you had put it reversed. And then at the back of the guidebook you will have a ton of things around how to get use the Citadel Oracle more in your role-playing games, so potentially tabletop games, Dungeons and Dragons. It can help you build a location, build a character. You can use it for getting inspiration for writing, for building an encounter if you are like a dungeon master or game master. And then you also have a ton of really cool spreads which are using the different categories or families in this particular deck, because like I was saying, the Citadel Oracle is divided in different parts, and you'll see it here in the quick reading guide. You have the court family, the academy family, the crowd, and the troop. And so below that you will see all the different kind of archetypes that are part of this. And I love this deck so much. I had high expectation because I'm a huge fantasy nerd, and because I love gamifying my practice anyway. I draw a lot of inspiration from the books I read, from the games I play, all of that, from the shows and movies I watch. And having a deck that really roots itself from these archetypes and tropes that I'm super familiar with, but that still allows you to use them in a more oracular divination type of way. I thought it was fantastically done. This could very easily be part of my favorite oracle decks of the year. I feel like I've just started to scratch the surface, so you'll hear me talk about this a lot more in future videos, but wow is what I'll say. Blown away. Let's move on. Another mass market oracle deck I ordered from Rare Waves as part of this little haul I was doing is the Wisdom of the Wild Things Oracle by Angie Sullins and artwork by Eva Boneva. This is one I've been using the whole time I was sick. There's something about this little creature that really held me whilst I was going through it, and I was feeling like shit. Somehow this deck really met me where I was, and I'm really grateful for it. So as you can see in the box, you have a little bag that you're given. You have the guidebook, which by the way is so great. Not only is it full color and has beautiful messages, but sprinkled here and there you have poems, which this gorgeous artwork, which really I don't know, just elevated the guidebook to another level. So another oracle deck that has completely blown me away. Look at this. Isn't it beautiful? I found so many amazing mass market oracle decks this year that making my list of my favorite oracle decks of the year is going to be really hard. But this is another strong contender, I will say. As the name suggests, Wisdom of the Wild Things, this is definitely a little bit on the peculiar, weird. This is not for everyone, I think. Here are the backs, which are very sweet. And as you can see, this is a super glossy cardstock. The sides are in this beautiful kind of dark green, almost forest green / gray color. This is the best I can do. Right now stormy where I am, so the lighting is a bit weird, so there might be more glare than usual. I apologize, but I'll just share with you a couple of cards. I feel like a lot of you will be familiar with this because this is another deck that has been very popular. I normally am not necessarily a huge fan of creepy things, although that's not true because I have quite a lot of creepy decks. Yeah, I'm full of shit. I do like some creepy things. But I mean, I walk the line between creepy and cute, and the line is very fine, and I tend to line strike that. And some decks that a lot of people find creepy cute, I find just creepy. And a lot of decks that people find too creepy, I don't find that creepy. So I have, I would say, I guess, my own taste when it comes to that. This one is just the perfect mix, I think, between a little bit spooky and weird, but yet cute enough and sweet enough that it just hits the right spot. I did not expect this deck to be so kind and gentle and loving. When you look at the cards, the creatures can feel a little bit strange, right? And so you wouldn't expect necessarily this deck to be so loving and sweet, but it really is. There's something about the weird creatures that really appeal to me, as well as the quality of the key phrases. Another deck by Angie Sullins, which is the Divine Nature, and again, I love the key phrases and key words on this one, and this is another great one for me. I know she's done a lot. I don't have any of her other ones. Her other ones don't necessarily appeal to me. This one was the exception. As soon as I started to see people sharing pictures, I was very cold to it somehow. You know, sometimes you see a deck and you're like, yeah, that's for me. Look at this one. Beware the shame creature. Ooh, that is such a good key phrase. So yeah, this I've been using all the time I was sick, just pulling one card or two as a way to kind of check in with myself. But now I've been a little bit more mobile and a little bit less tired. I've also been pairing it with some decks. It's amazing with the Nicoletta Ciccoli. It's amazing with the Corrupted Tarot. What really blew me away with this is how kind it is. Like, I didn't expect it to be that kind. I thought it would read a little bit like Brian Froud's Fairies Oracle, which can be a little bit brutal sometimes in its honesty. This feels a lot kinder somehow, and yet still very profound and deep. Like I said, a lot of the key phrases and the guidebook, the way it's written, it goes a lot more in depth about shame and grief and worthiness and all of those things. That definitely has a unique point of view. Like I said, the guidebook is beautifully written. The poems that are mixed here and there are gorgeous. As a one card pull, it really met me where I was, but now that I've started pairing it with other decks as well, it's just been really fantastic. So you're gonna see this in future pick a card. I'm surprised at how much I like this, I will say, because sometimes creepy things really creep me out, but this one has just been a really good friend during a month of August that wasn't so easy for me. Those little creatures definitely met me where I was, and I'm grateful for that. The last mass market deck of this haul is one that literally arrived yesterday. It's the Rainbow Tarot. I haven't even shuffled this, so you're gonna see it's still in order. This is another one that I'm very tempted to bring to South Africa because the colors, right, as you're gonna see. So here are the backs, which I absolutely adore. It is silver edge, and we have this beautiful holo here. The Rainbow Tarot was a indie deck originally. It's a deck I had my eye on, and when I found out that they were putting it mass market, I was super excited and decided to pick it up. Cardstock is very thin, not the best, I'm gonna say, even for a mass market deck. Like, I'm definitely not a cardstock snob, but if I notice that it's thin, then you can imagine that most people will. That being said, I don't really care that much. I'm here for the colors, I'm here for the artwork, I'm here for the this beautiful blend of colors, these beautiful beings. This is one that even my friend who isn't into tarot but knows I am, saw pictures of and was like, Marine, if you don't have this deck, you need it, it's so you. And yeah, she was right, it's very me. I love this kind of vibe, this kind of aesthetic, and yeah, this is definitely a strong contender for me to take on holiday because it's mass market, so even if I damage it, it's not a problem to replace. Two, all these colors I think are gonna be really fun to work with somewhere that is very colorful like South Africa. And three, it's really new and I really want to play with it. Look at these Three of Wands, it's so cute. So yeah, this is a very beautiful modern kind of deck. One I can see myself reading for a lot of people. I think for people who are a little bit apprehensive of tarot, this could be a great one to kind of get them to read for them, because it feels very welcoming and very like non-scary, if that makes sense, because it removes a lot of the esoteric kind of vibe. However, you still have all of the absolutely important symbolism because this is an RWS. Just look at all these array of colors. It's just really aesthetically pleasing. This is very my vibe, this, whatever this is doing. So one, I can see myself using a lot on my channel as well for readings for friends. I know already so many of my friends are gonna love this deck when I read for them. Very tempted to take it on holiday with me. And look at this Five of Pentacles. It's so beautiful, the mix of colors, that I wouldn't even get mad getting that Five of Pentacles. And God knows, normally I really don't like getting that card because I'm getting it all the time. Hashtag chronic pain, chronic illness life. If you know, you know. This is a card that I'm very familiar with. Look at this Nine of Pentacles, so cute. I love the little heart as nipples, come on. And the escargot hat. I mean, can you even? This is a joy. It comes with a really quite chunky guidebook, I will say. I've not even looked at it. Let's look at it together. It's full color. We have a full page. Seems that we have, yeah, full page even for the minors, to be like a good write-up about each of the cards. Curious to read more. This is definitely a strong contender for going on the trip away with me, because I like the fact that it's super colorful. It's brand new, so I really want to like work with it, and I think you could bring some fun readings which are very appropriate for holiday. I don't want anything too deep or serious. I just want a deck that I can pull when I want to do a little quick reading but keeping things lighthearted. So this is definitely a strong contender for that. Let's continue, because I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decks to share with you. You know me by now, I'm a big deck goblin, so we're used to it. Let's continue. I have a couple of decks that I got from Make Playing Cards. I am so happy because Make Playing Cards is finally re-shipping to Reunion. The whole, during COVID and everything, they had stopped for a few years, and it seems that this year they finally reopened their shipping internationally, specifically to Reunion where I live. So I was able to grab a couple of decks from Make Playing Cards, and there's a couple more on my wish list that I might pick up before the end of the year. And I would actually like to know from you guys, please let me know in the comments, what are your favorite decks from Make Playing Cards that you think I should check out. Like, you guys always have the best recommendations, so let me know because I want the tea. Okay, so let's talk about it. We have the Sistine Tarot by Rose Bay Tarot, and we have in this pouch the Hellenic Oracle by Garden Goddess Tarot here on YouTube, Thea. So let's talk about the Sistine and then we'll move on to this one. It was created by Rose Bay Tarot. This is now out of print, so I'll start with that. If you don't like seeing out of print decks, skip forward to the next one. I'm gonna make sure to leave timestamps in the description box to navigate between the decks. So if you don't like seeing out of print stuff, just move on to the next one. But if you are a deck lover like me and you just enjoy seeing deck for the art of it and for the enjoyment of seeing different things, then definitely stay tuned. This is a deck that was very limited print by Rose Bay Tarot. I'll make sure to leave her Instagram down below. And this particular deck she had originally created for herself, and then she put it on Make Playing Cards for a few weeks for those of us who wanted to pick it up, and decided to make it just a small limited print. See, there was some additional cards here of Zodiac, which I'm super excited to use for my Zodiac reading, so you'll definitely be seeing more of those. So this is a collage deck. Here are the backs, which I know was very popular among us here on YouTube. For those of us who could grab it, I'm very, very grateful I could get my hands on it because it's absolutely gorgeous. And as the name suggests, Sistine Tarot, this is heavily inspired by religious imagery as well as a lot of the divine feminine aspects. So even though this is no longer available for purchase on Make Playing Cards, I still wanted to mention it because, well, this is a new deck to me. It's a deck that came into my collection in the recent 3 months. I wanted to mention it because if you couldn't get your hands on this one when it was available, you should still definitely follow Rose Bay Tarot because she's creating new decks. Make sure to follow her on Instagram. She's always working on new creations. Very prolific creatrix. So if you love this vibe but you couldn't get your hand on this one, definitely make sure to follow her because she's a very talented collage artist. I love her vibe, and she's a super sweet human as well, which definitely helps, I think, in giving decks beautiful energy, right? When decks are made by people who are kind and lovely, you can feel it in the deck, and this really has a beautiful kind energy. So I love collage decks myself, you know, I have quite a few, and this one makes me feel like I am taking a walk in a Lana Del Rey album. Like, if I had to summarize this deck, it's like summertime sadness. That's the vibe. I don't know if it's because Lana Del Rey is actually present in a couple of the collage, or if it's that heavy divine well, there she is, divine feminine aspect, all the gorgeous hearts and the moon. There's so much moon here and roses. There's something about this deck that makes me feel super nostalgic and that really gives that summertime sadness vibe. And yet this has a beautiful healing, gentle energy, and I think really beautiful for connecting to the divine feminine. So definitely make sure to check out Rose Bay Tarot. I'll make sure to leave her Instagram down below and go and tell her I say hi. Okay, next deck I got on Make Playing Cards. Finally, oh my god, I want to say finally because this is a long time coming, because this is a deck I had already purchased, but it never arrived, like just around when COVID happened. So I was like, finally, let me reorder this and make sure I can get my hands on it. And this is the beautiful Hellenic Oracle by Sia from Garden Goddess Tarot here on YouTube, who I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar with, but in case you're not, again, I'll make sure to leave her YouTube channel below. Go follow her, go tell her I say hi. Sia is just such a sweetheart, and I'm really excited I finally have her deck in my hand. So this, as the name suggests, the Hellenic Oracle is a deck inspired by Greek divinities, deities, muses, creatures. This is 100 cards, so it's a chunky deck, as you can see, which I love, obviously. You know, I love big decks and I cannot lie. On each of the cards you're gonna see there is a name of the divinity or creature or a muse or whatever it may be, inspired from Greek myth, as well as the name in Greek, all using paintings, classical art paintings that Sia selected and reframed and everything to fit each like divinity or figure, etc. It doesn't come with a guidebook, but I know Sia has done a lot of video on her channel about her own deck. You can definitely go on her channel if you're curious. She explains a lot of it. Some resources on there about how to get familiar with the deck. This is one I wanted for ages, purchased it already, but it never arrived. So I'm really excited that finally I got my hand on this, because I'm a huge Greek myth nerd. I love it. Jam, I've been reading Greek myth since I've been a child, so this is everything. I will say it's funny because I got into Greek myth in French, right? Because I'm French. So when I read Greek myth originally, I was a little girl and I was reading them all in French. And so some of the names, I'm not used to them, because they're quite, some of them are the same, like Artemis is Artemis, but some of them are not the same in English and in French. So what I might do is I might actually write the French name somewhere on the card, just because that's how I personally relate to Greek myth, because it's something that is so close to my childhood that yeah, I don't know, but then some of them are the same, so I don't know, I'm just blabbering on right now. I don't know what to do. I'm hesitating. What I do know for sure is that I want to create my own guidebook for this, in make my own like associations, maybe write a couple of keywords for each card, just for my own personal practice and my own way of relating to the Greek deities and muses and everything. But this feels very special. You can still get this on Make Playing Card. It obviously pairs beautifully with classical art deck. It obviously is a must if you enjoy mythology. The first card I got when I asked describe yourself was Kronos, and I was like, okay, you're not here to play around. This is definitely one that is gonna be like, you need to do the work, honey. So this is really a powerhouse. From the few readings I've already done with it, you can tell it has a lot to say, and you can tell it is very deep and powerful. It's not necessarily one I would just pull my card of the day with, although I'm sure you could. But the few readings I've done with it have been very profound, deep, and how can I say that, quite sacred. So I think this will have a specific use in my practice, in the way that I personally relate to Greek mythology, to spirituality in that way. I need to develop my relationship with this one, if that makes sense, and continue to build that connection together. But beautiful deck by Sia. If you're watching, you've done so amazing here. You can be super proud of yourself. It's gorgeous. So next two are by the same person, same artist, so I'll share them together. One is a mass market oracle and one is an indie tarot, but they are by the same person. So let's talk about them. We have l'Oracle Inspiré by Émilie de Dieu and Le Tarot de Marseille revisité et illustré, also by Émilie de Dieu. So Émilie de Dieu is a French artist. She originally has an indie shop where I got this. One of her decks, this one has been picked up mass market in French, so this is actually one that you can get mass market on Amazon.fr, your local bookshop and stuff like that. I actually have quite a few decks from her already, from her indie shop. I have other oracle decks of hers. So this is a French creator that I love and really enjoy her artwork. So let's talk about the mass market oracle first. This is one I picked up, I think it was end of June. This I've had for a few months already, and I've used it in in my pick a card readings, my monthly readings, so if you watch those you will have seen it. I also talked about it in a recent Oracle decks I've been loving video. And the particularity of l'Oracle Inspiré is that it doesn't have any keywords on the cards, because this is meant to be fully intuitive, and really you're encouraged by Emily in this one, in the guidebook and everything, to make your own meaning. She even in the guidebook suggests that you write your own interpretation on the card if you wanted to, because the cardstock is that type of cardstock that would totally take in ink well. So she really invites you to just make this deck your own. But on each of the cards you can see one of her beautiful watercolor creation with like ink golden accent that is really her specialty. That's like the uniqueness of her art style, is the fact that in all of her decks mostly she uses watercolor and then accents with ink. I think her art style is absolutely beautiful. I love her watercolors. I think it's delightful, it's dreamy, it feels very ethereal and just gentle. And this is a deck that I've been absolutely loving using for predictive readings, for looking at the week ahead, months ahead, any kind of like divination type readings. It's really beautiful because the fact that there's no keyword, fully intuitive, so depending on the day you pull the elephant, maybe for you one day it's gonna mean looking at your thinking about ancestors and elders, maybe another day it's gonna interpret it as a motherly figure defending her young, maybe another day you look at the elephant and think about how they are living in community or how they are bigger than other animals. Each day that you pull this card you could interpret it differently depending on the context, on the reading, etc. So I love this type of oracle decks that let you really use your intuition, that give you free reign, right, that give you total freedom. And look, we have a whale card, so you know I love that. As soon as there's a whale I can't resist. There's a whale and there's a chameleon, so I was like sold. It does come with a guidebook that will still give you some couple of meanings for each of the cards, so if you didn't want to be completely left alone to your own devices and wanted some indication as to what the cards could mean, you do have meanings there. And there's actually quite a lot of spreads in this one as well. Obviously it's all in French because it is a French mass market deck, but what really for me makes this stand out is how intuitive it is and how we are invited to make this our own. I really love that. Like I said, I have quite a few decks from Émilie Dedieu. I guess I could just quickly share them with you. She normally sells most of her decks, apart from this one, on her website because she's an indie creator. I have quite a few of her creation. I have her l'Oracle d'Or et d'Encre, which is another divinatory oracle deck with this beautiful kind of watercolor with golden accent. Again, can we talk about how gorgeous this is? So this is a strong favorite to me. I use it a lot in my picker card. I'm sure a lot of you will have seen it. I also love her fairy tale based oracle, which is called l'Oracle Enchanteur. Again, you can get these on her website. And this one, it's all inspired by different fairy tales, which if you've watched my channel before, you know I'm absolutely obsessed with fairy tales and using fairy tales as way to make readings, to inspire herself for readings and stuff. So this is another strong favorite. And so earlier in the year I ordered her newest indie deck, which is this one, which is her first tarot deck, I believe. It's called Le Tarot de Marseille Revisité et Illustré. So this one you can get on her own website. I'll make sure to leave that in the description box. And I think this is her first tarot. I feel like she's done a lot of oracle decks before, but not tarot. And obviously because I found this in the bookshop and I knew this was arriving in the post, these two together are just match made in heaven. So I'm really excited that I have so many other decks to pair and play together with now. So this is what the box looked like. You can get the deck with or without the box, and in my memory this was really affordable for an indie deck. Her deck still remains some of the most affordable indie decks out there, which I think is fantastic. We know now everything is more and more expensive. Indie decks can go for so much money. Hers somehow still remains super affordable, which I think is great. So here are the backs. Quite simple, but I like them a lot. But obviously drew me the most to this, again, her beautiful art style, which I'm a fan. What can I say? I'm a good fangirl. When I like a creator, I will get their decks, and I will support, and I will purchase, and I will try and yeah, just support their art. This is a beautiful reinterpretation of the tarot. It's called the Tarot de Marseille, but it is fully illustrated. For me, it almost reads like an RWS, because it's definitely not pepish. Every single card is illustrated, and beautifully illustrated at that. The energy of this is so gentle, so kind. This is one I've been using recently, mostly like ever since I've been feeling a little bit better after being really sick, and it has been really beautiful at holding my hand where I am, at being kind and gentle and not too in your face. I've not really been in the mood much to tackle on deck studies and read with very esoteric heavy decks, or do a lot of shadow work, because to be honest, I've been on survival mode for the last month and a half, so I've just not had the spoons to take on anything too difficult or too dense. This, on the contrary, even though it can go deep in the sense of energies, it is very gentle, very kind. It has been a beautiful kind of comfort, self-care deck for me, a little bit of a hug deck. I showed this on my Instagram stories. So many of you loved it. So many of you said you were gonna check it out. Price of this, I can't remember on top of my head, but for an indie tarot deck, super reasonable, I think. This is another one I could see myself taking to South Africa, so I'm not sure. I think right now my two biggest like options are this one and the Rainbow Tarot. I was thinking of taking the Alter Tarot as well, but I would be super gutted if I messed it up because I couldn't replace it, especially because it was a gift. It feels so like precious. I love this Four of Swords. This might be one of my favorite Four of Swords ever, this acupuncture. It's so clever, which is another thing I love about this deck, is that the way that it interprets the different like archetypes of tarot is just really smart. Here we have the Nine of Pentacles, the Page of Wands, the Six of Swords. Again, love that, the idea of coming back to the surface to breathe. We have the Fool, the Eight of Cups, another fantastic interpretation with this, I forgot the name of this Japanese art style, when they put together broken pieces of pottery and they line it with gold so you can actually see where it's broken. For the Eight of Cups is genius. A lot of the choices make so much sense to me in terms of how she interpreted the tarot. Here for the Two of Wands we have towards the tower or towards the forest. You're at a crossroad, you have to choose. Seven of Swords is someone with like all these pins in their heads. They're almost like collecting weapons and just taking what they need to defend themselves. But do they really need to defend themselves, or is it in their head? That's up to interpretation. This is the High Priestess, Queen of Cups with the singing bowl. It's just gorgeous, honestly, really beautiful. This is another one I could see myself taking to South Africa, just because it's very kind and gentle, and I think for holiday would be a good one to have. Nice way to check in with myself, and I wanted to share it with you guys because it's not an artist I hear a lot about, and yet I know so many of you would really enjoy her art style. These two are new to my collection. Okay, last deck, let's wrap this up. I've been talking for way too long, starting to shake. I don't know if you can see that, I'm sorry if that's annoying. Running out of spoons, so please excuse my shaky hands. We'll wrap it up with this last deck. This is the last deck I wanted to share with you anyway, that arrived while I was sick. This is a deck I had ordered on Etsy. Took about 3 months to come or something. So glad it finally came, and it's actually always in perfect timing. This is the Tabletop Tarot by Brandy York. I got this on Etsy. This is an indie deck. I'll make sure to leave the link to where you can get this down below. The name suggests this is inspired by role-playing game, Dungeons and Dragons, tabletop games, and all of that good stuff. So as you can see, between the Citadel Oracle and this, I was truly in a fantasy mood recently, but I mean, when am I not? The reason why I say this is coming in perfect timing is because when I got sick, I finally got into Critical Role, which I know a lot of you out there are familiar with if you enjoy Dungeons and Dragons. I had never watched Critical Role before, like their YouTube channel. Last year or 2 years ago, I can't remember, I watched Vox Machina, the Amazon Prime show that is inspired by the Critical Critical Role campaigns, but I never got into the actual Critical Role campaigns on YouTube because each episode is like 4 hours, and I was a little bit overwhelmed by the idea of starting. I didn't know where to start from. It was like just a bit too much for me. And then I got super sick with COVID and I was stuck in bed for weeks. And so I was like, well, if there's a time for me to get into this, I might as well start it now. And I saw that on their YouTube channel they had abridged episodes for campaign 3, and each campaign is a standalone story. So for campaign 3 they had released these like abridged episodes, which instead of 4 hours are 1 hour. And so I started with them, and that really helped me getting me hooked, and now I'm on episode like 30 something of campaign 3. The fact that this arrived right I was getting into it is perfect timing, because very heavily influenced by the Dungeons and Dragon world and people like role-playing online, and there's definitely a few characters in this particular tarot deck that now that I've started to be more familiar with Critical Role, I recognize as being like famous characters from the show. Been a fun deck to use lately, and not only that, but as a huge fantasy book lover, this definitely represents a lot of heroes and heroines and characters that I personally love to see either in my TV shows, in my books, in my video games, everything. So there you go, 3 of Swords, big Critical Role inspiration. We have the Matron of Raven here. This is not a Critical Role deck. For me, having started getting into Critical Role, I can definitely see some of the inspiration. Overall, it's a fantasy lover's dream come true, because every single character looks like it's taken from a fantasy book, a role-play game, a fantasy video game. We have elves, we have tieflings, we have goblins, we have dwarves, we have elemental creatures, we have dragons. I mean, it's all there. Makes for a very joyful reinterpretation of the RWS, in which for all of my fantasy lovers out there, I think you will love. Honestly, this is a joy. I think specifically if you are into role-playing game, D&D, tabletop games and all of that, this could be so fun to create your character. This could be so fun to create your campaign. This could be so fun to give you inspiration. Or if you're like me and you enjoy fantasy books, fantasy movies, fantasy TV shows, then this feels very comforting and familiar. Like, this is definitely giving Legends and Lattes. It feels very cozy as a reinterpretation of the RWS. I need to find the Emperor, because it's probably my favorite card, and that's because I relate. Oh, there we go. I always say on my channel that I'm a deck goblin, and this is it. This is me. This is the vibe I bring to the function. When I saw that they had a goblin for the Emperor, and I'm an Aries, so the Emperor is one of my cards, I felt seen because this is me. I wish I was a dainty elf, very demure, very cutesy creature, but I'm not. Let's be real. I'm a big ass deck goblin. This is me. Very cozy. I don't know if I shared with you the backs, but yeah, really nice. We have the High Priestess with a tiefling here, which is gorgeous. Comes with a little guidebook, which I wanted to share with you. We have a few sentences for each of the cards, both straight to the point, but to be honest, I've not really paid too much attention to it. I checked it at just because I wanted to see if there was reference to specific characters. There is not, and it will tell you, for example, if the character is a warlock, if they're a barbarian, if they're a paladin. So I thought that was fun to have that particular like explanation at which specific characters they would be, as this is like the tabletop tarot. But apart from that, you can definitely read this without the guidebook. It's super intuitive, super easy to read with, and this is another one of my favorite cards, the 8 of Wands with a rogue. Yes, tabletop tarot by Brandy York. Beautiful interpretation of the RWS. Perfect timing, as I've been enjoying getting into Critical Role lately. This couldn't arrive at a better time. I've been enjoying like even doing readings about the campaign, trying to guess what's gonna happen next with this deck, and it's been so much fun. Of course, is there any like creators out there, people who love Critical Role out there, let me know. I'm very much a newbie, like I said, I've not watched a lot of it, but it's been fun getting into it, and I've been really loving just getting familiar with all the different actors and characters. So my friends, this is it. These were all of my new decks I wanted to share with you today. Now it's your turn. Let me know the decks you've been enjoying lately, tarot, oracle, whatever it may be. Let me know what you've been up to in the comments. And thank you so much for being here. Again, thank you so much for your patience whilst I was sick, and thank you in advance for your patience whilst I'll be away. I hope you're all doing good, and until my next video, I'm sending you so much good vibes, and keep navigating the waves of your soul. Bye!